Hello there once again, and welcome to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers. We are here every week on The Verdict, dealing with topical issues and meeting some interesting people.
We are, and we're going to do that again this week. We have Patrick Raglow, the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of Western Oklahoma, or Oklahoma City Diocese, I guess it is, going to join us here in a few minutes and talk about his activities at Catholic Charities. They have an outstanding list of projects that they work on and do a great job for this community, particularly the community in Western Oklahoma.
Absolutely. A long list of things that they're involved in, and we'll hear more about it. Patrick Raglow, today's guest on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
I've been fortunate enough to premiere every film that I've produced at Sundance. Seeing your film on the big screen for the first time in front of an audience at the Sundance Film Festival is unmatched. I'm Chad Burris. I'm an attorney, film producer, film financier, economic development financier, and I'm Chickasaw. Nobody can argue that modern day media, cinema, has perpetuated this myth, this idea of the Indian and what that is. And just the idea that, all Indians look one way or all Indians act one way is a terrible injustice. Being able to have filmmakers tell stories that are representative of some element of his surroundings, his upbringing, what they know, what they see through their own eyes, that other people get a chance to bear witness to around the world. I think that's amazing. For me personally, being an Indian today means being responsible, honest, progressive, and giving that back to the community.
Learn more about today's Chickasaws at profilesofenation.com.
It's a North American energy revolution. We're the fastest growing source of new oil and natural gas supplies in the world.
The shift to North American energy will create approximately 3 million jobs.
All that money we've been sending overseas, $400 billion a year. Imagine that staying in our economy. It's a game changer.
Real energy independence starts now, and it starts with Oklahoma.
We are back on the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today our guest is Patrick Raglow, the Executive Director of the Catholic Charities of the Oklahoma City Diocese of the Catholic Church. Patrick did his undergraduate work at Bowling Green University, got his master's degree at Troy State in Alabama. He is a retired colonel in the U.S. Air Force, with having spent 3 tours at Tinker. He was a combat veteran while he was in the Air Force. He previously served with Catholic Charities in the state of Nevada, and we were able to lure him here to Oklahoma City, and we're glad about that. This is his first visit on The Verdict, and we sure welcome you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
It's great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk a little bit about your history. You were telling me you grew up in Ohio.
I grew up in Northwest Ohio, 6 brothers and 2 sisters, and so the family's scattered a little bit more than that now. I had 21 years in the Air Force and loved it, but 3 assignments. My first operational assignment here at Tinker Air Force Base, 88 to 92. My second assignment, 2000 and 2001. And then more recently, 2006 and 2007, before we came back. My wife and all of our family, I have 3 children. We live up in the Edmond area, but we came back in September of 2012.
And what did you do specifically in the Air Force and at Tinker?
I was an air crew member on the AWACS, the Airborne Warning and Control System platform, the 552nd Air Control Wing. I was an air battle manager, and my final assignment was the Deputy Operations Group Commander in charge of 1,800 airmen that manned, equipped, and flew those aircraft for missions worldwide.
And in combat, where were you?
Desert Shield, Desert Storm, a little bit of the Cold War. We maybe did the last intercept of a Bear bomber on a resupply run to Cuba. A little bit of Just Cause, the Panama operation. Also, I flew off the first airplane off the ramp at Tinker Air Force Base on 9/11. They contacted us. We asked permission to engine start and taxi, and the command post came back and said, negative Dark Star, your training mission is canceled. We've been attacked in New York City and Washington, D.C. We're going to send an additional crew member and mission orders up the lower lobe, prepare for combat. So we had no idea where we were going to go, what we were going to do, where we were going to land, how long we were going to be airborne, what the mission was. We just knew we weren't going to a training mission in Northwest Florida. So,
but you did leave the ground.
We did leave the ground. We ended up helping to shut down the airway system, you know, all the commercial traffic that landed all over in unscheduled places. So we flew to the southwest corner of the United States, and we ran intercepts then on civilian traffic that was unknown to us at the time. Some of it was crop dusters, some of it was private aviation that was going from point A to point B that did not realize the world had changed since takeoff. And so we shut down the airline system to give the nation an opportunity to reassess and react. And then we began really 5 months, 6 months, 7 months of Operation Noble Eagle to provide air sovereignty missions over the United States. And we, in fact, for the first time in years, NATO's Article 5 was enacted, and we brought the NATO AWACS platform from Geilenkirchen, Germany, and they flew missions off of Tinker Air Force Base for the first time in its invocation to provide air sovereignty missions over the United States.
A fascinating collection of experiences there.
Yeah, we're going to need to get you back on to kind of focus on the
Go redirect
AWACS
the show.
experience. Yeah.
But and then those life experiences, you know, you feel the calling to help out with Catholic Charities. Tell me the connection there and that transition.
Well, a lot of folks ask that question because they think the service is totally separate. But in fact, when people join the service, they join to serve. And when you accept a life of service, you don't always choose its flavor. And so there's really a great deal of similarity in the social services arena in the Catholic Charities to that of the Air Force, because you live for a reason beyond yourself and you commit yourself to a service to others before you worry about what's in it for you as an individual, you know, professionally or otherwise. So I had 3 children, 5, 3, and 0. There were 5,000 lieutenant colonels that wanted my job and 3,000 colonels that thought they were as witty, charming, and eloquent as me. But I was the only dad to my kids and the only husband to my wife. And so at great discernment, I decided to depart an Air Force that I love and still love, and a career that was very exciting and challenging and rewarding, and choose another path. And I'm delighted with that path, and it's been given me an opportunity to make a profound difference in the lives around us. And I will say that in the service sector, the commitment of the people to those they serve is every bit as committed to any of the people in uniform, but they don't have the same amount of training, they don't have the same amount of resources, they don't have the same amount, in some cases, of acculturation. So to take the years of experience I had around the world, 14 assignments in 25 countries in that period, to bring that into the social services sector has been a great blessing for me, and I hope some small blessing for those I've been privileged to work with.
I mentioned in your introduction that you had previously served with Catholic Charities in Nevada. I know there's Catholic Charities in Tulsa as well, different organization, the same mission, I suspect. Are there Catholic charity organizations around the country?
There are. The Catholic Church is divided every inch of the earth under a diocese of one sort or another. And then each diocese has a bishop that presides, and then inside a diocese you have parishes, which a priest serves the people and the community. Every diocese will have an agency like Catholic Charities. It may be called Catholic Community Services, Catholic Health Services, Catholic Social Services, or Catholic Charities. But each one will be tailored to the unique situation of their individual diocese. And so collectively across the United States, the Catholic Charities network is the largest provider of human services in the country. But each diocese is unique, and so the phrase in the network is that if you've seen one Catholic Charities, you've seen one Catholic Charities. And so
there's no standard approach. The problems aren't standard, I'm sure.
Well, because each one of the principles in Catholic social teaching is not only solidarity with the poor, but also subsidiarity, that you leave it to the local level to best address those problems. In the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, led by a great man, in my opinion, Archbishop Paul Coakley, he charged the agency, and his predecessor charged Catholic Charities to go where others are not. And so we are not heavily funded by government dollars in terms of shelters or women, infants, and children, or food stamps, or senior nutrition, Meals on Wheels, or any of those type of things, because those are government-funded programs. Somebody will do those programs. But if we were doing those programs, what would we not be doing? So our mission is to complement, in the best sense of that word, the work of other agencies, and to go where others are not by doing things slightly differently in an added value fashion, because we don't need to compete with City Rescue Mission. It's a phenomenal organization doing phenomenal work. So what can we do to enhance their success?
And I understand you all run a very proactive adoption and pregnancy program.
Yes, you know, our youngest client is not yet born in pregnancy services. Our oldest client is 93 in our sponsored senior housing. So we don't do everything along that spectrum. Adoption is ethical and pressure-free, so that we're not taking pregnancy clients, pregnancy services clients, and saying the only path for you is adoption. Each birth mother gets the opportunity to make their own decision about the parenting choices that they'll make for that child. And then we can turn what may be a crisis pregnancy into a beautiful opportunity of love and hope in a new home, creating family out of a stressful situation.
Do you have a waiting list for people hoping to adopt?
We have always a large number of people that wish to adopt. It's a little bit more difficult to find women that wish to place their children. The norms today in society, and it's not a good or bad thing, is there's a lot more single parenting going on across society, and so there are fewer babies placed for adoption as a result. We're not the largest provider of adoption services, but we are one of the lowest cost, if not the lowest cost, in the western half of the state.
Patrick Raglow is our guest. He's with Catholic Charities of Western Oklahoma. We'll be right back.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
I've got the power.
I've got the power.
We've got the power.
And you've got the power too.
You can donate to local arts and cultural projects that are in need of funding. You decide where your dollars go in your community.
You have the power to bring projects to life.
Search Donate, empower. Let your voice be heard. powertogive.org.
We are back on The Verdict, visiting with Patrick Raglow of Catholic Charities. You know, when you hear the name Catholic Charities, one might assume that if I'm not Catholic, I'm not sure I'm eligible for services. And why don't you clear that often misconception?
We get that question all the time. Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City serves across 46 counties of central and western Oklahoma. In addition to our Oklahoma City main service location, our Stockyard Sanctuary Women's Development Center, our Holy Family Home in Midwest City, we have offices in Clinton, Enid, Guyman, and Lawton. We served more than 18,000 of your fellow Oklahomans in the last year, 90% of whom are not Catholic. So we like to say we serve because the agency is Catholic, not because our clients are Catholic. We serve based on need, not on creed, and they do not have to attend services in order to get services. We certainly believe the Spirit accompanies our work, but this is not recruitment by another means.
You mentioned just then about the Holy Family Home in Midwest City. What is that?
That's a beautiful location, and we get great and wonderful support from the Midwest City community and neighborhood. It doesn't stand out. There's no neon lights saying this is Holy Family Home, because we want to not disrupt the neighborhood but be a part of the neighborhood. It's a place that allows women and women with children that need a place to start over to stay. They can stay there for up to 2 years, and they can bring their children in if they have them, and they get a chance to literally reboot their lives, women and women with children. We thought when we started that it would be mostly the single women would be maybe dropouts out of high school or younger women. In truth, they're my age. These are women who had a life-changing event, whether it's divorce, death, loss of a house, loss of a job, but suddenly midlife they have to restart and reboot. So they can stay with us for up to 2 years. Mostly they stay about 7 or 8 months, but it gives them a chance to come in, clear out the cobwebs, gain some job skills, go to Oklahoma City Community College or Rose State or Mid-Dell schools, get whatever degree or training they need and get a fresh start. About 20 women and children at any one time can be there, and it's doing great work.
And the Faith Community Health Ministry, what is that?
Faith Community Health Ministry is of any faith denomination, and the notion is that the complex medical system and care that we have out there sometimes is intimidating to those who do not understand how to access it. And so you might at a Faith Community Health Ministry have a nurse or a medical professional that would take, say, your blood pressure on a Sunday once a month. Mm-hmm. Well, the first 2 times, all we get is the number, your systolic and diastolic pressure. But later on, you'll say, I'm feeling pretty good, but my wife is having these symptoms. Is that something I need to worry about? Or my husband is feeling this way, or I've got this. And it gives a safe place for them to ask some medical questions. They don't do medical care, but they help invite that dialogue and then introduce them into the medical system, hopefully sooner and earlier, so that they can maintain their health before it becomes a crisis.
And I know you all are also involved and have been for decades in the refugee resettlement. Can you explain what that is?
Refugee resettlement, any given year, the United States government brings in about 70 to 80,000 people in refugee status from around the world to begin life anew in America. When we do it correctly, it is the face of the Statue of Liberty smiling. It's a beautiful thing to see. Each year, Oklahoma City resettles about 150 to 190 refugees. There are currently 13 different languages in the portfolio out there, but we catch them at the airport, we help set them up in an apartment, we teach them English, we acculturate them to the norms in our community, and help them find their first job and hopefully launch off into a successful new life in America.
Were you involved in the children that were refugees at Fort Sill?
We were, and it was a difficult challenge. As you can imagine, there are legitimate policy issues, whether you're left wing, right wing, or no wing, legitimate policy issues on that need to be discussed. And our prayer is that that discussion be both civil and informed. But at the same time, we have children in our midst, and we need to be present to them. So it's not an either-or proposition, it's both. You know, that policy implications need to be addressed. So we had a chance to get into the Fort Sill facility. We worked there for about 6 weeks and served about 600 children. I can report to you and to all the viewers that the contracted provider there, BCFS HHS, which is short for Baptist Children Family Services out of San Antonio, was a phenomenally professional organization, well-resourced, well put together. They ran a great facility. And then HHS, the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, there's enough acronyms there to put you to sleep, ran that facility. They were clean, well cared for, well taken care of, well fed. Medical care was there. It was all there. But under the current law, 2008 William Wilberforce law, each of those children is supposed to be given what's called a Know Your Rights briefing and an initial legal screening so that their status may be determined by lawful authorities. So in all the work that Catholic Charities does, we don't determine any of their status. We simply interface with civil authorities so that their status can be determined, just as we would with any client that we serve.
Here in Oklahoma, we're familiar with tornadoes and the other similar types of natural disasters. I know you're involved in disaster relief services. What do you do in that connection?
Well, first of all, we are privileged to be in Oklahoma that allows partnerships to happen. So together with the United Methodist Church of Oklahoma, Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, Red Cross, American Red Cross, United Way, Catholic Charities partnered and created the Oklahoma Disaster Recovery Project. We provided the policies and procedures and the training in many ways for the case management for long-term recovery. Of the 4,000 households, there were 8,000 households affected. About 4,000 were just the power was out and the food in the refrigerator went bad, or a broken window or two. But 4,000 were much more significantly damaged. Of that 4,000, more than 2,900 have been assisted, and we continue to work on the remainder. But it's a long-term process. And so when we started that process, we had 1.5 case managers to help with the long-term recovery. Together with our 6 partners, we have created 40 trained case managers across 6 agencies. That's truly capacity building in the community. And if you don't care who gets the credit, you can get a lot of stuff done. The people don't know whether they have a case manager from Salvation Army or Catholic Charities or United Methodist Church, because they all got together and we wear the Oklahoma Disaster Recovery Project logo.
Most nonprofits that deal with social issues need 2 things. They need more volunteers and more money. And so let me give you an opportunity. If you need either one of those or both, let's get your pitch out.
Well, thank you very much. Our website is www.catholiccharities.ok.org, catholiccharities.ok.org. 90 cents of every dollar goes to client assistance or client support services. We're very proud of our record. It goes to anyone in the community, and we'd be delighted to have their support. We're pleased to note also that we'll be building a new main services location in the Midtown area of downtown on Classen between 11th and 12th, and it'll be a bookend nicely, we think, the Automobile Alley on the east side of the city. It'll be Dwayne Mass Architect is doing a facility, so that's on crossbeams.org. It's a beautiful facility. It'll serve the community for decades to come.
And we talk a lot about the strong economy in Oklahoma, but the needs and the social issues continue to grow as well.
That's correct. You know, we could end poverty today. It would begin again anew tomorrow, whether from personal situation, job loss, medical situation, fire. Hazards happen, and so we don't aim to end poverty, but we sure want to shorten someone's exposure to it.
Patrick Raglow is with Catholic Charities. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you,
Thank
Patrick.
you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Kent and I'll have a final word when we get back.
The human body, an amazing machine. What we're capable of is astonishing. If we look to what makes us human, we find that life is more than a heartbeat, and hope is more than an idea. That knowledge moves us forward, and our community keeps us together. OU Medicine is at its heart, keeping Oklahoma alive and well.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
I think for us, once we got started and we began to see the tremendous need just within our state, it really was just a calling for us. The blessings far outweigh any obstacles that we've faced.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
We are back on The Verdict. Patrick Raglow with Catholic Charities was our guest. They are such a generous organization.
Well, they are, and they just do marvelous work for the community. Their name is Catholic Charities, but as he pointed out, you do not have to be a member of the Catholic Church to receive services, and most folks aren't. I think he said 90% are not. And they just fill a need in this community that I would worry about how it would be filled if they were not here doing a wonderful job.
And we would urge people, if they are in a position to do so, if they would continue to help with their fundraising. They are doing a lot of worthwhile projects and could use your help and participation. And you can find out more information about that on their website at CatholicCharitiesOK.org. That's CatholicCharitiesOK.org. And we have a website too, theverdict.tv. You can go to our website and tell us about a guest you'd like to see or a subject matter you'd like to see discussed on a future edition of The Verdict, and we'll try to get somebody on the show and discuss just that. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next week right here on The Verdict.